Well, I did say that I was going to be clean shaven and civilized next time you see me, but I did take the clippers to it. I just didn't get to the shaving part, so it was only a half truth. But I just had some drama going around here. But I really wanted to do this video because a guy named Mason found a very good and effective link explaining CRPS. At least the first half of it is simple. Then it gets a little bit more complicated if anybody is curious about CRPS. Um, I would call it Groundhog Day because what happens is you get an injury and the pain gets trapped in your body, and you might be healed up from this injury, but the pain don't leave. It creates a feedback loop, which will be explained in the link in the description, where it just goes around and around in a circle, and it is the most vicious of circles. And yeah, you could call it a neurological feedback loop, where there's a bunch of fancy words, but I like the expression Groundhog Day because say you hit your finger with a hammer and it hurts, but it gets better throughout the day, and then you wake up and you got the same pain, and you wake up the next day, you got the same pain. So while not completely accurate, I just think that's kind of clever. So, um, but yeah, another thing about that it explains in this link for anyone that's interested, it explains the shit that I've been telling my family and for years, that they don't get that emotional distress, emotional upset has a profound effect on the disease in a way that it doesn't on other diseases. And it actually mentions that in there. It also mentions that one of the main things that you have to do with CRPS is to keep moving and keep exercising, which is what I did until I started living here. Like I said, when I moved here, I could ride a bicycle pedaling uphill. I could walk for a few miles at a time. My walking wasn't pretty, but it was effective. It didn't look nothing like the video. CRPS man walking didn't look nothing like that. Obviously, if I could walk for miles, and I always had mad upper body strength, so I could work out with 40-pound dumbbells for like an hour. Um, Unfortunately, the guy upstairs wouldn't take no for an answer because so he gave me cigarettes for doing him a favor. And of course, me being an addict, I smoked I don't know how many cigarettes. He also gave me a cigar, which that really harkened me back to the days of Eminem, the days of yeah, marijuana and masturbation, M&Ms, because I would smoke the ganja, smoke the cigar, and sometimes just to break up the boredom, one hand on the cigar and one hand on the joint. It is what it is, you know. And the video also explained why I would be doing that is because being touched means something different to you than it does to me. It explains like yeah, it will explain that. Um, this isn't just some crazy person on here talking. This is a person with a real thing. That you know, seeing is believing. So you already saw my legs and stuff, but um, it's like a caress is a slap. I would rather have like an ace bandage wrapped around my middle, like real tight, like they do for basketball players' knees, than to be have a gentle touch. You know, I'd rather you slap me in the face than I'd rather a beautiful woman slap me in the face for being a jerk than caress me gently downward. That is my existence, and that is the freakishness of CRPS. But this video does do a real good job of explaining it in simple terms at the beginning, and then it gets more complicated, but you really only need the beginning of it. So that will be the purpose of this. I'm not going to talk anymore about the psychodrama that I got into. I don't think I mentioned that I had a bout of arrhythmia that was scary as fuck because this guy's throwing cigarettes at me and I'm an addict and a dummy. So I had a bout of arrhythmia that lasted a good long while. And but my heart kicked back into rhythm, and then he knocks on the door and he's offering me another cigarette, and I'm like, dude. He's like, I don't even know what arrhythmia is. And I said, arrhythmia is something that's going to put me in the hospital, and they're going to put shock paddles on me, man. So, you know, he's like, I'm blaming him, and I'm like, no, man, I'm not blaming you, you know. Um, but anyways, I'm involved in a psychodrama that I got to wait out. God only knows how it's going to come out today. But it's just another reason why I have to move here. But I literally have $5 in the bank because of my Netflix. I thought I had $20 in the bank, but my Netflix um, monthly fee came due. So I have $5 in the bank. I got $1 on the food stamp card for a week. So yeah. So yeah, things are not going to be easy around here. This guy also, he keeps wanting. He was in here, you know, and like, dude, I keep trying to tell the dude, bed bugs, man, bed bugs, don't come in here. There's a chance I could still have them. And you know, I gave the dude my TV. I just gave it to him yesterday. There's a big hulking dude here that visits the lady upstairs. I think it's the boyfriend of her daughter. But he's a big hulking dude. And I was like, now's your chance, man. Get the Incredible Hulk to help you lift that TV upstairs. So originally we had an agreement that I was going to sell it to him for $150, but it's either 10 years old or it's almost 10 years old. I don't want to move it, and I don't care, and I want separation. You know what I mean? And now got drawn into a psychodrama with him, and this isn't, like I said, this is not a guy that if he has a problem with you, he's going to call the police on you. It's another type of deal. You know, I've already talked about this before, so I'm not going to talk about it anymore because it kind of feels like a betrayal for me to even talk about it as much as I can, even though it's the truth. I mean, but the main thing is I want to put that link up there because I was like, yeah, this is something that I think people can understand because the nurses and stuff that come here are like, CRP who? They got no clue what this is. I run into this still with medical people because it's a rare disease that they don't know what it is. Now, back in the day, because I contracted in 1986, there were doctors that were CRP who that had no clue what it was. It was called RSD back then. They're like, those doctors didn't know what that was. If the actually, I went to a whole hospital. I went to a hospital. I believe it was Akron General, and they said we have no case history here of anyone with this disease, so we can't do anything for you. So I went to a hospital. Whenever you go to a hospital, they tell you they have, and not a new hospital, but they tell you they have no case history of this disease, so we can't help you. I think that's where I got diagnosed. But I got diagnosed by an anesthesiologist that was working at a different hospital and had encountered it in somebody, and they did a thermographic study of my feet, and my feet were like different temperatures because it controls autonomic function, and that controls your body temperature. So my feet were like 89.7 or something like that, and it wasn't cold in the room. So it's like that's when they first told me that I had it. That's the way I remember it anyway, but it's been so many years. But I do remember that part about we have no case history here, so please leave. We don't know what to do with you. And yeah, um, I went to another place. I remember, and they said one guy rolled his eyes to the other doctor and said the first word that this is after the internet came into vogue and people started like how people like look up stuff on the internet like I think I got this. They're like one doctor looks at the other doctor and rolls his eyes and he said first word comes out of his mouth is RSD. Like this motherfucker. Another one of them internet surfer guy, hypochondriac guys. And they found out later through tests that, yeah, okay, he's not a liar. Um, but anyways, yeah. So I don't know how this day is going to come out or what's going to come of it, but so far it hasn't been a good day. Uh, yeah. I figure I don't get to use my TV very much, so I don't really care about giving away a 50-inch big screen TV. Don't really care, you know. Um, I also gave him the DVD player and three burnt movies. Um, but he forgot the S cable cord, so he tried to watch one last night and then cut. And he's like, "Oh, that sucked." And I'm like, "Well, here's the cable." The Incredible Hulk guy, he was hopped up on something, so he was in and out of here in a hurry, man. He's like, "Let's get this thing moved." And I didn't have time to think of nothing. So, um, yeah, just check the link out if you're curious about the disease. If it's really quite a find in my opinion, and does a really good job as my garbage is being picked up with the in the background. This link will do a really good job of explaining it in a simple way. I think I always used to think of it as a broken record, and then Ground Hell Day came to me uh, yesterday when I was thanking the guy for finding the link. Um, because I don't I had like a weird way of dealing with it because there wasn't really nothing they could do with it except for bomb you out of your skull or do really radical shit like sympathectomies where they're cutting nerves along your spine. And they actually at one point uh, would actually tried this with people, put them in a ketamine coma to try to reboot their nervous system. Or somebody would complain about a leg like my left leg, and they would just amputate it, you know. And we're talking extreme measures, you know. And then you got your extreme measures, you got your doped up out of your mind, and then you got the one that I used, which was exercise, exercise, exercise. So when I was younger and I started, the psychological problems were a little bit less before 2003, where I had a really bad thing happen. Um, Anytime I felt any kind of like too much pain or too much whatever, I'd start walking until I was tired, and I got to the point where I could walk from one city to another, from Canton to Maslin. Trying to remember if I walked home, but I think I walked home too. I don't remember getting a ride home. I remember walking there because I remember you have that moment when you make a decision like that where you're like, I don't know if I can do this. And I remember sitting in front of Tam O'Shantner Golf Course and just sitting there. And I'm like, maybe this wasn't the best idea in the world. And I had already walked, I don't know how many miles by then. And but yeah, that's how I dealt with it because they were wanting to give me opiates. They gave you actually put you on a morphine pump for it and all this stuff. And it's like, no, I want to have a life. And I was on like heavy tranquilizers for a brief time, and I realized that, it shouldn't take 4 hours to drink a cup of coffee in the morning. You shouldn't be sleeping dreamless sleeps for 10 hours and then wake up feeling like your bladder's going to burst. It's like, I don't want to be like a zombie. I got to have some kind of life. I got to have some kind of memories to fall back on once I get to be an old, bald-pated, garrulous motherfucker like I am now. So, but anyway, all that's my usual wordplay and nonsense. The main thing I want you to do is check out the link if you really want to understand the disease and what it's about, and basically, even though I would not call myself handsome, and my teeth have certainly gone to hell in the last 10 years, but there's a reason why this computer and all this junk is on the bed next to me and not a woman. And not all of it is like me worrying about the woman. It's like that's asking a hell of a lot to have somebody adjust to a person that only would enjoy being touched from here up or in a certain other area. That's about it, you know, because it goes in a line like all the way down. But anyways, it's just too much words already. So, I'm gonna white knuckle the day out and see what happens with the guy upstairs. And hey, it is what it is, man. But it's got me on edge. I ain't even a part of it, and it's got me on edge. He broke my Browns cup. Not a good sign, because you know, it's like I paid $20 for that mug, and he like made a pot of coffee in my house, and because he ain't got no coffee pot, he said, and uh, was drinking coffee on the porch and reached for it and knocked off my $20. Uh, no more Mr. Nice off Brown's cup, you know. And I'm like, I don't want it no more. It's yours now, you know. Like I just gave the dude a TV. If I just gave the dude a 50-inch TV and a DVD player and a brand new remote to the TV too, and I spent uh, TV. I don't know. It's probably worth $200. I don't know what it's worth. I was asking 150, but the remote come out of my own pocket. That was $14, and the DVD player was $12. So that's $26 just because you got the nice guy syndrome. Whereas it's not gonna stop him from his issues, of course, but might keep him out of trouble, give him something to do, and you know, I mean, I'm not one of them flag waving dudes or whatever like that, but he did. Uh, I think the expression is serve our country. He did go overseas, and he saw some stuff over there. He was over in Afghanistan, stationed, and you know, shot at people. Probably was shot at. I don't know. I don't talk to him about it, and that don't make dealing with them any easier. But you feel like, yeah, I don't know. It just makes me feel more inclined to help him because I know a lot about him, and anybody, he's like me in a way. Anybody that's been through, I guess that's why I can relate to him. He's like me in a way. Anybody that's been through that much shit has a right to be fucked up. You know, it's just like, luckily for me, I never took to the bottle. I never took, alcohol wasn't my thing. So that was just lucky. And my older brother, he wasn't so lucky. He dealt with his problems that way, and it almost killed him. So, um, video's probably all over the place. It's about 20 minutes long, but if you want to find out, you know, about CRPS, this video, the beginning of it, very simple to understand, and it shows you the it shows you the nasty circle that's created where pain actually can get trapped in your body even though you're healed. And then the pain itself can create new injury and new problems like the atrophy, for instance, in my and weakness and limited range of motion in my left leg. So it's it's just a weird thing that happens. And so I suggest, if you're curious, to check out the link. And I've talked this long because people will be 20 minutes. Uh-oh. So I should have made a 5-minute video. But I can't help who I is. I is what I is, and I will see you all later.